You can't actually see what's going on inside me at any time or in my head. I feel it very strongly, but someone talking to me might necessarily know what's happening, how anxious I am, or how that affects me.
You're chasing something different than I. No more casting shadows on your every smile. Every day feels like
Hello.
Hi,
I'm Sayed.
I'm Jeanne. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Jeanne.
Well, let's kick off. Tell us your story. Who are you?
I'm Sayed. I'm originally from Afghanistan. I have been born in northern part of Afghanistan, and I arrived in Ireland as a refugee last year. So I'm living now in Ireland.
And what are you interested in?
I was studying law and political science in Afghanistan, and I'm interested to continue my education here in Ireland.
My name is Jeanne McDonough. I'm the CEO of the Open Doors Initiative, and we work with marginalised people to help them into education, employment and entrepreneurship.
Oh, that's
So
great.
I work with a lot of refugees.
Okay, nice to meet you, Jeanne. What condition do you have and how is it invisible?
So I have a type of bipolar called dysphoric elation, and I have rapid cycling, which means it changes, the mood changes very quickly, and I also have anxiety, just to top it all off. And it's invisible because you can't actually see what's going on inside me at any time or in my head, and it manifests itself. I feel it very strongly, but someone talking to me might necessarily know what's happening or what I'm feeling or sort of how anxious I am or how that affects me. I can cover it very well. So I take a lot of medication to try and, stop the symptoms from overwhelming me.
Okay.
And what about you?
Okay, for me, when I was about 12 years old, I was diagnosed glaucoma in my left eye. So not many people know that I have an invisible problem because it's not obvious for onlookers to point out that what's my problem. So I think it's a chronic condition, chronic medical condition, and that caused me problems many times.
And would someone meeting you know that you have a visual impairment?
Yeah, some of them, I have redness in my left eye. Some of them they can point out, but not many of them.
What are your opinions of the media depictions of your condition?
Yeah, media can portray the people with disabilities and visual problems. They can portray them in a positive way. But unfortunately, some medias and some movies that we see, the people who roles the evil role, they also have some kind of disabilities. They link disability with evil. So that's not a good thing. But also media can play a very main role, advertising, raising awareness of the people about disabled people, what they feel, how should the society treat with them, and it plays a very positive role as well. It has a positive dimension as well. They should raise awareness about people with difficulties and disabilities, and they have to set meetings and other things about those people that they have disabilities.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think certainly the media depiction of mental illness is not good. People immediately go to films like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is set in a very old-fashioned asylum, and they think everyone who has a mental illness acts that way and can't be treated and can't live full lives, and it is very negative, I think, in general. But I think it's slightly changing. There's some programs that are sort of bringing people with disabilities into general society and their portrayal and how normal it is and how common it is. you know, because 1 in 4 people have mental ill health at some part in their lives. So it is very common, and if you don't have it, someone you know in your family or a friend or someone. And I think the depictions tend to be quite negative and quite stereotypical,
Yeah.
and it's not the norm or the normal lived experience you or I might have.
How do you feel when someone asks you irrelevant questions or stereotypes your condition?
Bored. I think it shows a lack of knowledge or an unwillingness to inform yourself.
Yeah.
As I said, it's very common. I think more people should be informed about the ins and outs of bipolar or depression or anxiety. It is so commonplace. It's kind of lazy. It's a lazy way of describing someone or a condition or making assumptions about a condition.
Yeah.
That might necessarily be true. It's kind of an ignorant way to approach it. It's like saying, you know, I don't know, I can't even think of a good example. Oh, you're freckled, you must have a skin disease. You know,
Yeah.
it just is an ignorance.
Yeah.
And I think it's incumbent on people to inform themselves and realise how widespread it is and what the actual lived experience of it is.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you make assumptions that can be harmful or upsetting or derogatory, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
What about you?
Actually, it's annoying. Like, sometimes it's really annoying because, like, they show unreasonable sympathy for you, and also sometimes they ask some questions that they are really irrelevant to your conditions. Like, it just make you feel unhappy. Like, they ask questions about your disability, and they just ask some personal questions. So it's annoying, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a work environment, how do you feel when people assume that you are unable to work or function like others?
Yeah. Actually, all the human beings, they should be treated equally. But the problem is some people think that the disabled people and those people that they have like visual problems or disability, they don't think that they are equal with other humans. Like, they count them less than other humans. Like, they should be treated with them in a good way, because like all human beings, they are the same. And also, like, many disabled people showed their ability that they can do. Like, they can do everything, they are equal. So they shouldn't, if they encourage them that they can do a thing, like if something is impossible or difficult for a person with disability, like if the people in workplace encourage them to do that things, they can overcome on that thing and they can do it properly.
So not boxing people into
Yeah,
what
yeah.
your expectations
Yeah.
of them are,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
supporting them to do better.
Supporting them. And for you?
Yeah, the same thing. A lot of people, when they hear mental illness, they sort of go, oh my God, she's going to kick off at any moment, or she's not capable of doing this, or she can't function under stress. And the funny thing is, I function very, very well under stress.
Yeah.
Actually, when it usually affects me is when I'm on downtime, or I'm relaxing and it's after a big event. So actually I work very well. And I've been lucky, all my workplaces, I've always been very open about my mental diagnosis and always been upfront about it. And I find when you are, people feel more comfortable about asking questions if they have questions, or they get informed. And also then they quickly forget about it, and it's not an issue. They forget you have a disability, and they just treat you like everyone else. And that's what you want. You want that sort of, for want of a better phrase, the normalization of it. So it's just like, you know, there's Sayed, he has visual impairment, and actually I've forgotten about that now. It's just Sayed, and he's in a lovely blue shirt. And you know, it's kind of taking away the othering of the person. and making it just, yeah, same as everyone else. What do you say to people who judge those who need to go into a care facility?
Yeah, I think that if we replace ourselves to those people that they have disabilities or problems, we can realize them. So we shouldn't have judged them or say bad things about them or judge them quickly. So it's really important for them to go for a care facility and to take care of them and to take care what they need. So it's very important for them.
Yeah. Well, I was in a hospital for about 6 months when I was younger.
Yeah.
When they first gave me the correct diagnosis for what I have, and they got me on the correct medication, and it was one of the safest places I've ever been. You were totally protected. Everything sounds very selfish. It was all about you and the person and getting you well and getting you strong enough to go back out there. And that was when I was very young, and it was a very safe place, and it was a sanctuary. And I made very good friends there that I still have. And it was wonderful. It was a really wonderful environment. And if I hadn't gone in there, I would not now be able to do what I do, because it gave me a very solid bedrock to build on and deal with the illness. Or the disease, as they call it in medical terms, which I'm always like, disease. But so I think anyone who judges anyone about going into a care facility needs to really question themselves.
What do you think schools, workplaces, and society needs to do better accommodate those with invisible illnesses?
Education, 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 information, normalizing of difference, not othering people. I think, I personally, I love difference. I love meeting people from different backgrounds, different abilities. I think it's so interesting. I think they bring so much to the table. It's a new experience. You're learning the whole time. You're having an experience you wouldn't otherwise have if you're just surrounded by the same sort of people day in, day out. Mirrors of yourself. No difference, no change, no nothing. And I think we'd have very boring lives without people from different backgrounds and abilities. And even if they are invisible, that brings something else to the table. It could be something you notice or you question, or you say, I must find out about that, or like, I must ask Sayed, not to be nosy about it, but just, is there something I can do? What helps, what doesn't? Does your vision affect how you walk, how you navigate the environment? What's useful? And then we all move on, and it's just like, okay, grand, now I have that, and I'm doing it from a place of compassion, not just because I'm curious, and I'm doing it to get to know you better and to see how that relationship can develop, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's right, because a society is incomplete without diversity. Like in the schools, like the teachers, they should teach to the students that ignore the person's disability. You have to treat them as a human. And also workplaces, they should hire people with disabilities and they should offer them jobs. And I think like disabled people, they are equal, and those who have problems, so they just they have to use their ability in the workplaces. And also society should raise awareness about people with disabilities, and it's the occupation and the work of everyone to teach their children and to teach the society that they have to count the disabled people equally.
Yeah, because children don't make difference.
Yeah,
Children just accept.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way we should be. It's when culture and norms and all of those things come in on people that they start making differences, something that's bad, which I absolutely don't agree with. And also, a lot of disabilities come on people later in life. You're not necessarily born with a disability, so it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And you treating someone as less than because they have something, that impacts on their life. I mean, that can happen to anyone. What is the one thing the world needs right now?
I think the world needs kindness and humanity. So that's the thing that the world needs now. So we should be kind to everyone, because we have just ourselves. Like if a human being if we help others, they're gonna help us again. Why do we need more role models with invisible illnesses?
Because we're fabulous.
Yeah,
We need more fabulous people.
yeah.
The more people you see who have something you might have, and you're learning about it. Like when I was growing up, when I got my diagnosis, luckily I was in hospital at the time, so there was a few people, but no one had my exact diagnosis, which is dysphoric elation, which is very unusual. So I was reading and I was looking up things, and everyone has lots of role models for depression or for bipolar, but not dysphoric elation. And I couldn't get information, and I couldn't meet someone who had it. And then I met a person, and I was like, oh, I'm not the only one. And that was such a relief. And I think it's incumbent on people, especially people who are say, doing public work, or in my role as the CEO, I think it's very important that I am open about it, because given the stats about disability, there's very few leaders who step forward and say, I have this, I have that, I have X, I have Y. So there's very few role models, and I think that's wrong. And I think it makes it harder on people coming up, and younger people coming through, and people who work quiet lives of desperation because they have these disabilities and they feel they're so stigmatized they can't talk about it, or it will affect their workplace, or they'll be fired or anything. So I think it's really important to have role models, again, to bring everyone in on the same page, put everyone on an equal level. Yeah.
And I think that the role model have the ability to supplement or redesign the personal state of mind.
Yeah.
Like it can push you slightly in a right direction. Like it can help you to encourage, it can encourage you and help you to overcome your disability and on your difficulties. What's the one thing that the world needs right now?
Love, sweet love.
Sweet love. That's sweet.
You're chasing something different than I. No more casting shadows on your every smile.